Hey, West Forsyth High School cross country coach G again, out on the back patio. Probably going to be swatting at mosquitoes, squinting, sunshine. Good for you, vitamin D. Hey, couple of things. We're getting to the time of the season where those of you who've been coming to practice pretty regularly with us, 5, 6 days a week now for several weeks, things could start to be like adding up a little bit. Um, so, what I want to talk about are things that you can do to help stay good and healthy. Because an athlete who's 100% healthy and 90% trained is always better than an athlete who is unable to run at their best because they're having issues with their body. So, we've said this over and over and over and over again, but the very best thing that you can possibly do is come to practice on a regular basis because not just the running that we're doing, but all the other stuff that we're doing, occasionally running barefoot striders, doing some uh, hill running, the core exercises and work that we're doing, the drills that we do before some of our workouts, all these things are trying to help make you um, stronger, more athletic in your entire biokinetic chain. And the stronger and more healthy you are, the better you're going to be able to handle the training load that we're going to ask you to do. Um, and the more healthy that you're going to stay. So come to practice. The other thing I would tell you is please communicate with your coaches. I want to help you understand the difference between what's normal to be expected in terms of things that hurt, pain that you might experience when you're running, and the difference between normal expected soreness and something that's starting to become problematic and may, could potentially turn into an injury, small or large. So here's the thing about running. You're gonna have some aches and pains. It's just the nature of the beast. Even if you're, really healthy and like uninjured, it's just one of those deals to where we are doing things and we're asking your body to do things that it has never done before. Even if you've been running now for 6 or 7 or 8 years, we're going to continue to ask you to do a little more than what you've done in the past in terms of either the amount of work that you're going to do, the paces that you're going to be doing it at, and all that stuff has an impact on your body. So let's think about it this way. If you hadn't been going to the gym at all, like just you don't do that, you don't like to do weights, and I took you to the gym today and got you on a bench press bar and set up an amount of weight that was, comfortable for you to be able to bench and had you do 3 or 4 sets of bench pressing, you'd be able to do it, right? But here's what I can pretty much guarantee you if you haven't been doing it in a long time. For the next 48 hours or so, you'd be sore. You'd be sore in your chest. Depending upon how you're doing them, you might be sore in your shoulders. Um, it's the nature of the beast, right? Because you're asking your body to do something it hadn't done in a while. But that soreness is telling you that the body's kind of rebuilding itself. It's reacting to that stimulus that you got, and it's going to build back stronger to make you better. So, things that are aches and pains that you get from running, whether it's in your ankles, your feet, your calves, your quads, your hips, anywhere kind of in your lower body, are to be expected and are actually pretty normal. And sometimes the very best way to get over soreness from doing exercise or having your body go through something that it hasn't done before seems a little weird, but it's actually doing it again. Like a nice easy run on sore legs causes your body, because your heart's working harder, to pump more highly oxygenated blood throughout your system. And I'm not a biologist, and some of you parents who are like doctors or whatever, it's like this guy's an idiot. He doesn't know what he's talking about. But um, doing that, I know from experience 100% actually helps mitigate some of that soreness, and helps you kind of get back to homeostasis again, or a natural state where you're not as sore. So that's just kind of like par for the course. Expect to have some little nagging things that ache and pain from time to time, and generally it's not that big a deal. There are a few injuries that you might get from running that are acute, which means happen like this. So if you're running on a trail and you sprain your ankle like really bad, not just kind of roll it over. Sometimes you just roll your ankle over like that. You can finish your run and you're kind of fine. And it may be a little sore, but no big deal. But like if you roll it bad enough to where it makes like big popping sounds, you get some swelling, you have some bruising and all that other sort of stuff. Like that's an acute kind of an injury. And that's the kind of sort of pain that like you wouldn't want to run on right away. You need to let that resolve itself because the injury that happens there, instead of just being, soreness, is there's some tearing involved, and those need a little bit more time to heal. And those are the kind of injuries like you would expect in many soft tissue things where you're going to want to do rest, you're going to want to do ice, you're going to want to do compression, you're going to want to do elevation. Like that's just standard um, kind of triage 101. And then the third kind of thing is your body reacting to kind of an overuse injury. And overuse can happen at all levels, right? So if you're a brand new runner, you might get something that feels like an overuse injury when you're only doing 15 miles a week. Whereas a senior guy who's been on the team and who's been running since middle school and has, built their mileage up over time may get an overuse injury because they're running 60 miles a week. So overuse is just overuse, but it happens at all kind of different levels of running. Um, and the way that like an overuse injury would tend to manifest itself is that there is a place on your body that is causing you an issue in pain, typically that you can point to and touch. So if I were to ask you, or your parents were to ask you, or a friend were to ask you, like, okay, this has been bugging me for 2 or 3 or 4 days now. It doesn't seem like the normal soreness thing that's just going to resolve itself. And it hurts right here. Well, it's not going to hurt your collarbone from running, but if I was pointing to some place on my leg, if it's point tender, point sensitive, you can isolate the place where it hurts, and it's been hurting in the same place for more than, let's say, like 3 days. So 72 hours is the amount of time, general kind of soreness should be able to resolve itself when you're kind of young and healthy. That's when you need to let a coach know. Because at that point in some kind of an injury, if you let us know about it, we may recognize what the symptom is. We may recognize what's going on. We may be able to give you information in terms of exercises you can do, stretching that you can do. We might again send you back to the rest and ice method for that kind of thing. We can send you to the trainers at West. So we have a training staff there that are, you know, they understand human physiology and sports medicine, and they can do treatments on you and that sort of stuff. And a lot of times, what we'll do is just give you 3 days off. Like in a lot of these kind of things, if you'll just back completely off for 3 days, not do any running, and also don't decide to go out and play ultimate frisbee or 3 soccer games or that kind of stuff. But if you'll just, completely lay off of running for 3 days, something that's starting to become a little bit problematic um, will just resolve itself fine and you'll be able to move on. But if you wait, either because you really, really, really want to be at practice, or you're worried that if you don't run, you're going to get behind the other athletes, or if you're just too shy to talk to your coaches and let us know what's going on, or any other reason why you wouldn't tell us, um, if you let it go on too long and it becomes a real problem, if something's been bothering you for a week or two, and you don't let us know about it, at that point, sometimes giving you 3 days off isn't going to be enough to fix it. You may end up having to go make a visit to your friendly neighborhood local orthopedist who will not have good news for you. Even if they can't fully diagnose what it is, their prescription for things like that generally isn't 3 days off. It's 4 to 6 weeks off, and it's sometimes in a walking boot. And we do not want to get to that point. So please, please, please come talk to your coaches about those kinds of things. We want to help you work through them. Um, Preventive medicine is also very good. The single best thing that you can do to make sure that you stay healthy as an athlete is sleeping appropriately. The statistics are out. It's in medical studies. This is not my opinion, but athletes who sleep less than 8 hours a night on average are significantly more likely to get an injury that causes them to miss real time from training in their sport. So sleep, 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 sleep. It's imperative. You just got to do it if you want to be an athlete. Staying appropriately fueled is important. And we've talked about nutrition before. And I'm not going to be the kind of person to tell you that you need to be super worried about every bite of food that you put in your body. You should never be weighing stuff on a scale. You don't need to be, looking up the nutritional value of everything that you eat. I think you can have real dysfunction when you see food that way. You should see food as an athlete as just fuel for your body, and more is generally better. We would love for you to eat 3 meals a day, snacks in between. We want you to be hydrating all the time, 6 to 8, 10-ounce glasses of water or some other fluid during the day to keep your body like fully fueled so that you can go out there and do what you need to do from an athletic perspective and just for the overall health of your young growing body. Like your body's going through changes during this time in your life that it will never again go through these same level of changes for the rest of your life. Like your body is still growing. This is your final kind of growing spurt to determine what you're going to be like when you're a fully grown adult human. And if you do not give your body an appropriate amount of fuel, and good healthy food's great. Like I'm not saying, just eat nothing but sodas and eat McDonald's French fries. Like I want you to eat fruits and vegetables and things that are healthy and good for you. But I don't want you to have a weird relationship with food. And I'll tell you this, like um, guys and especially young ladies, keeping yourself starved of fuel to try to maintain a certain body type or a body image or a certain size that you either think is best for running or that you just think is best because you're going to look cute is a recipe for disaster. It will destroy your health. So don't get weird about food. We want you to eat a lot. Like eating is good for you. It's healthy for you. It's the way for you to be the best runner. It's the way for you to be the best young person, and certainly as a growing young person to end up being the best healthy adult because you're going to live for lots and lots and lots of years. Um, so starving yourself's a bad idea. Don't do that. Let's see, what else can we say on this topic? I'm not trying to just ramble on and on, but I just want to make sure I'm covering everything. So sleep right, eat really healthy, talk to your coaches about what's going on if you start to have issues. And then, definitely please, please take all this kind of stuff that we're trying to do at practice for core very seriously. Do all that work to the best of your ability. The things that we're doing aren't designed just to be mean and to torture you, but it's to try to want to make you like a strong, healthy athlete. And if you struggle at that, work harder. I mean, it's really good mental training for you too. It gets hard after halfway in a cross country race, and you need to have that mental resiliency that says, "Hey, when things start to get hard, instead of backing up, backing off, or quitting, or making excuses, or feeling sorry for myself, that's the time when I get going. That's when I get tough, and I do those things that I know and understand are necessary for me to be able to achieve at the levels that I want to achieve." And we don't do this stuff at practice really frequently enough. If you are having issues biomechanically, or if you have had a lot of issues biomechanically over your running history to keep you healthy. So the things that you are the weakest at, if you really struggle to hold a side plank for 30 seconds, then go do them at home. I mean, it takes 30 seconds. You can't tell me that there isn't 30 seconds in your day, a couple of times a day, every day, where you can jump on the floor really quickly and do some exercises that are going to help make you stronger. Oh, and then I remembered the last thing. One of the other really important things that you can do to stay healthy is you can have really good running shoes. Um, just because I was in the business for 33 years, I'm not trying to sell you running shoes. I do not make any profit off of anybody buying running shoes, but they are designed to be able to absorb that shock of your body weight hitting the ground, um, which you do about 1,000 times in a mile, and you get about 3.5 times your body weight every time you hit the ground. So even if you only weigh 100 pounds, 3.5 times your body weight is 350 pounds of force landing on each one of your legs every time you land, times 1,000, and then times however many miles you're going to run. Like that's a lot of force. So you need good running shoes. Go to a running specialty store. Try a bunch on. You can't just decide to wear a pair of running shoes because your friend has it and it looks cute. You can't have it just because that's the shoe that your mom runs in and your mom swears by it. You can't run in it because uh, you had that same brand one time before. That may be a good thing. That may mean sure that that's going to be a good shoe for you. But each one of your bodies is completely unique. It's individual as a snowflake. There are no two of you that are exactly the same, exactly alike. And what somebody at a running specialty store can do is, especially if you bring in your old shoes that you've worn for a long time, they can look at the way those shoes are broken down. They can look at the wear patterns. They can watch you walk in them from behind and see what you're doing in the way that you hit the ground and how your body mechanics work. And they can recommend the right shoe for you that's going to be the most protective for you based upon the way you run. And in some cases, especially if you have like really flat feet. So if when you go to walk on like the ground when your feet are wet, if you've got a big high arch, you're going to have like a footprint that's got a big curve in there because your arch part of your foot won't touch the ground. But if you got really flat feet, when you step down, like you're not going to see that curve because your wet foot's going to touch the ground and you're going to make a footprint that looks just like the whole bottom of your foot. So people who tend to have flat arches do this thing called overpronating. So the normal running gait, you land on the back of your heel, and as you transfer your weight from your heel to your midfoot, you roll across your foot, your arch compresses, and then you toe off. Everybody pronates. Pronation is normal. That's a part of the way that your body functions to be able to absorb impact when you're running along. People who tend to overpronate because they don't have as high an arch or they don't have the right supportive shoes, don't have a good arch support in there, do not have medial posting to where when your body wants to try to roll over too hard, it resists some of that urge. What they'll do is they'll land on their heel, they'll roll over, and they'll overpronate this way. And when you do that, you can see somebody running from behind who overpronates because their ankles are going to be really turning in, and sometimes it turns their knees in as well. When you overpronate like that and you have these weird angles going on at your feet and your ankles, it transmits stress and those weird angles up into your knees, up into your hips. You can end up with knee problems, IT band stuff, shin stress injuries, all this other sort of stuff. So you you need to get the right kind of shoes and they don't last forever. I know I've said this before in a video, but you get like 3 to 500 miles in a pair of running shoes. And I'm sorry that they're so expensive, and 150 bucks every 3 to 500 miles means you're going to have a couple of running shoes uh, during the season. Um, and if you don't, like, there's a really good possibility for you to get injured because that foam cushioning that's in the midsole of the shoe that helps absorb some of that shock after it gets compressed over and over and over again, 1,000 times a mile, you know, um, the foam will not retain its original amount of compressive ability. It'll kind of get harder, and therefore they don't work as good as they used to when they first started. So, uh, not only good running shoes, but the right running shoes that are recommended for you for the way that you run will really make a huge difference in keeping you healthy, especially with um, bone injuries like shin injuries, stress reactions in your bones, all that other kind of stuff. That's the biggest thing that we're scared about. There are several people on the team who've run into those injuries, and it's not because we're trying to overrun them. I promise you, promise you, promise you, we're not trying to make anybody run crazy amounts of mileage. It generally has to do with poor biomechanics or poor strength in their body. And that's something that you have to take on yourself as, look, hey, I know I've got a history of doing this stuff, having some problems with injuries. I know that I need to get stronger in the whole rest of my body so that it can handle like the stuff that you need to do to be the best runner that you can be. I think I covered it all. I sure do talk a lot. I'm sorry I talk so much, but I just want to give you all the information that you need to be able to have a really great season with us. Make it all the way to late October, early November, some of you, and finish the season feeling like, holy cow, I did all the right things and it paid really good dividends, and I'm a strong, healthy, confident runner, and I'm running super fast too. All right, that's all I got for you this time. Thank you for listening.